Good afternoon and welcome to the live stream on the topic AI for Sales, Threat or Benefit. My name is Mike Thomas. I'm the co-founder and COO of the Track Selling Institute. I'll be your host for today's session. In this live stream, we'll discuss the topic of artificial intelligence and how it affects you as a salesperson. Artificial intelligence has been a very hot topic in the news, on social media, and at the water cooler. It's been hard to miss in the last 2 weeks. There have been major announcements from OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, and Adobe, Salesforce, and many others, giving this topic high visibility. In today's session, I want to answer the question, as a salesperson, should you dive into and understand how you can use AI to dramatically improve your productivity and effectiveness, or should you ignore it, at least for now? To help you understand what AI is all about, we're going to focus on a very popular AI software tool called ChatGPT. We're going to do that for two reasons. First, it's gotten a tremendous amount of press lately, so it's likely you've heard of it. It's been on the CBS News, it's been in virtually every magazine and newspaper, it's been everywhere. Also, Microsoft is a major investor in OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT. Microsoft will be integrating ChatGPT into many of its apps, including Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. More on that later. Second, the concept of interacting with ChatGPT are similar to how you'll interact with most AI applications today. So it's very similar in terms of the way that prompts are handled and the way you, again, interact with it. So let me explain what ChatGPT is all about. Go to my PowerPoint here. Technical difficulties here. Hold on one second. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so ChatGPT is a cloud-based program, so it lives in the cloud, that interactively answers your questions. To help you understand, I'm going to break down the four major components of the word. So chat refers to the conversation that you would have with the AI model, highlighting its ability to engage in an interactive and human-like text exchange. Unlike search engines, it remembers the context of your interaction. So it's like chatting with somebody. You can also talk to it like another human being. In fact, some models incorporate speech-to-text capabilities, so it's even more like interacting with a human. Like all humans, the more precise and extensive your request is, the better the answer will be. The G is an acronym, GPT, stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Big words. Generative is the computer word that means the ability to create or produce something new, like writing stories or drawing pictures. Pre-trained means that a computer program has already learned a lot from examples before you use it, like having a knowledgeable friend who can help you with your work because they've studied the topic before. There's two types of training. One is done by the computer, and the other is done by human beings who ask it questions, look at the results, and then adjust the model based on the responses. The last word is transformer, and that is a connector between the text and the computer and the human. It focuses on the words and their connections, making it easier and faster for the computer to learn and to communicate effectively. ChatGPT was developed by a company called OpenAI, an AI research organization founded in December 2015 by technologists and entrepreneurs, including Elon Musk and a whole bunch of others. It's not important that you remember all this, but at least I wanted to give you some idea of how this all fits together and what the word means. Before we continue, it's important for you to know that I'm not an AI expert. I'm approaching this topic from your side of the table as a salesperson or sales manager trying to figure out if I should spend any time on the topic or ignore it for now. In my opinion, both options are viable. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about Track Selling, about our company. The Track Selling Institute is a sales training company that might be one of the best kept secrets in the industry. We've been around for 65 years. During that time, we've trained over 250,000 sales professionals in over 3,000 companies, companies like IBM, Apple, and Coca-Cola, as well as a lot of small and medium-sized businesses. Our track selling system is a structured yet flexible process that is field tested and proven to improve revenue production by 25% year over year after attending our training. Our mantra is learn, practice, reinforce. We believe that school is never out for the sales professional. My co-founder and the president of the track selling is Ron Holm. Welcome, Ron.
I believe, there we go. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Pleased to be with you. This is the almost inaugural broadcast of what we're looking to do. This idea of what are the emerging trends for salespeople, sales managers, help you get on the front end of some of these. And as we get into the topic, I think you're going to have some wow moments, some epiphanies, saying, if we didn't give much prior consideration of artificial intelligence in sales, we better be doing so pretty quickly, because the likelihood is the competition will be doing so pretty quickly. So, Mike, thank you for your research, your insatiable knowledge or thirst for knowledge, and bringing us the content that we'll be reviewing today. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Ron. I really appreciate it. It's great to have you on board. Ron's going to act as my color person today. If you're a football fan like Chris Collingsworth is on Monday Night Football, he's going to be giving color commentary and making comments and contributing throughout the entire presentation. So, Ron, I really appreciate you being here.
Well, Mike will be the Al Michaels of the duo. So, Al and Mike, good to be with you too.
Thanks a lot. So you can find out a little bit more if you're interested about track selling at the Track Selling Institute, www.tracksellinginstitute.com. Enough for the commercial. So what we want to do today is we want to talk about three different things. Here's our agenda for the day. Hold on a second. I got to get back over to my PowerPoint. Thank you. First, we're going to discuss where we've been. What is the history of AI, and especially AI in sales, and where does it fit into the computing landscape? Second, where are we now? Oh, probably want to get to the PowerPoint here. Oh, sorry about that. Second, where are we now? This is where we're going to spend the bulk of our discussion today. What's the state of the industry in the spring of 2023 relative to the sales profession for AI? And finally, we're going to cover where are we going? What's the future of the technology? We're just going to spend a couple of minutes on that. So before we get going, I think it's important to understand a little bit about artificial intelligence and have a good foundation before we dive into the specific topic of ChatGPT. So here's a bit about AI, which is the first component of our foundation. So AI is a broad concept that refers to computer systems that typically can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. These tasks include problem solving, learning, reasoning, understanding natural language, and recognizing patterns. Here are some of the components of the artificial intelligence. First is machine learning. You might have heard of machine learning. It's an area that focuses on creating algorithms that can learn from and make predictions based on data. It's generally where tools like ChatGPT fit in, although ChatGPT also consists of other AI components that we'll talk about here in a second. The second aspect of AI is expert and rule-based systems, which are knowledge-based systems based on a predefined set of rules and knowledge to solve specific problems or provide recommendations. The third, and a very critical component, is natural language processing, or NLP, which focuses on understanding and interpreting and generating human language in a way that's valuable and meaningful to us as human beings. NLP is a critical component of ChatGPT. Fourth is computer vision. You've probably heard of that. It's the field of AI that deals with enabling computers to interpret and understand visual information. A good example is facial recognition. The fifth area, which also has gotten a lot of press lately, is robotics, which creates robots to interact with the environment, navigate, perform tasks autonomously, build computers, build cars, whatever. There are many other aspects of artificial intelligence, but that covers the big ones. These aspects or techniques can be used individually, or they can be used in a combination, like they are with ChatGPT, with various levels and complexity. So, I want to talk just a little bit about where AI fits into the computing landscape. So let me hold on a second and get to my PowerPoint presentation here. Again, for some reason it's very, very big. Okay. Okay. Well, PowerPoint's not cooperating today, so you're just going to get me. So if you think about, I want to start with sort of the basics, and this may be very basic for some people, but if you bear with me, I think it'll make sense as we go through the presentation. Think of the next few topics as layers of a cake. The first layer, the bottom layer, is the internet. And about 40 years ago, 40, 50 years ago, the internet was born. As you know, it was invented by Al Gore. No, not really, but that's what Al said. The internet consists of all physical infrastructure and standards necessary to support the layers above it, which we'll talk about in a second. It consists of all the components such as computers, servers that store and share information, infrastructure, protocols, browsers, and web-based applications. ChatGPT is an application that sits on top of all of that infrastructure. Together, these components make up the complex and interconnected network that is the internet, facilitating communication and information exchange across the globe. The second layer is the World Wide Web, WWW, or most of us just call it the web. It's a vast network of interconnected documents and resources accessed through the internet. It was invented by Sir Tim Berners-Lee. That's true, in 1989. The web consists of text pages of images, videos, and other multimedia elements. The web has become an essential tool for communication, information sharing, and e-commerce, and it has transformed the way we access and consume information. I don't think any of us think we could get along without the web today. The third component is a search engine, and you're very familiar with the most popular search engine, which is Google. It allows people to search information on the World Wide Web. So basically all that information, millions and millions, probably trillions of web pages, content, documents, and those things are entered or searched by the search engines using web crawlers. And they scan the internet and they build a massive database of pages that are then searched by or accessed by users. The most popular search engines, as I mentioned, are Google. Bing is also there, Yahoo, and an obscure one, but an important one, is DuckDuckGo. Now, parallel to search engines on top of the World Wide Web and the internet are large language models, this is the artificial intelligence component of ChatGPT. ChatGPT is what's called a large language model, or we abbreviate it to LLM. They're a type of artificial intelligence model that uses machine learning algorithms, as we mentioned, natural language process to process and generate human-like language. These models are designed to understand and respond to natural language input, such as text or speech. They sit at the same layer as a search engine. Fundamentally, they're another way to get at the data stored on the internet. Large language models are typically trained with massive amounts of text. I think ChatGPT has 175 billion tokens, and tokens are word or word parts that are in its database. So huge. And ChatGPT 4 is supposed to even have more than that. The data is used to learn patterns and relationships between words, phrases, and sentences and can generate coherent and textually appropriate responses to queries and prompts. OpenAI's ChatGPT 4, which was just released a couple weeks ago, is an example of a large language model, or LLM. It has a huge range of capabilities, such as language translation, chatbots, text summarization, and content creation. We're going to show some of these today. Large language models have the potential to revolutionize the way we interact with machines and the way we process and communicate with information. They can enable more natural and intuitive human-machine interactions and provide powerful tools for knowledge discovery and content creation. However, they also raise important ethical and societal questions, such as concerns around bias, privacy, and the ownership of data. More on that later. So let's just talk briefly again about what the difference is between a search engine and an LLM. Both of them are used to process and provide access to the information on the World Wide Web, but they differ dramatically in terms of how they do the task. Large language models are trained on massive amounts of data to generate human-like responses to queries and prompts. These models can understand natural language, as we mentioned, generate responses, and even perform certain tasks such as language translation or text summarization. Now, search engines can do some of the same, but they do it in a totally different way. They use algorithms to search and index web pages, and they're really real time. And we'll talk a little bit about the real time aspect a little bit later. They provide users with relevant results based on the queries that you request of them. They crawl the internet constantly, indexing vast amounts of web content, and then match user queries to the relevant web pages. Search engines use a variety of ranking factors and other relevant factors to give you the information that you really want. In summary, both large language models and search engines are used to process and provide access to information. They differ in their approach. Large language models generate responses in response to natural language query, while search engines use algorithm to match your requests into the relevant web pages. Now, why is AI exploding right now? Why has it gotten so much press and so much information in the last few weeks, months, even as little as last Friday? First, there have been huge advancements in the machine learning algorithms. So as you know, algorithms are techniques or methods that are used to tell the computer what to do. They become much more powerful, much more effective, and much more intelligent. Secondly, there are huge data sets now available that we didn't have before, and that allows them to train on much more information, which makes them even more powerful. Third, there's been a massive increase in computing power. Believe it or not, most of the computing resources are based on GPUs, not CPUs, so graphic processing units as opposed to computer processing units. And the big bulk of them are done by a company called NVIDIA. Fourth, there's been huge investments. And just to give you an example, Microsoft invested about $1 billion in OpenAI a while back, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And they've just committed to investing $10 billion to OpenAI to improve its innovation and improve the capabilities of the system. So that's just a simple example. Venture capital investors, as well as large companies, continue to invest a huge amount of information or a huge amount of money into those organizations. So that's the foundation. We talked a little bit about what is AI, where's it going, and also where it fits into the computing landscape. Ron, back to you. Any comments, thoughts?
Thank you, Mike. A couple of thoughts. Almost a century ago, an author by the name of Aldous Huxley wrote a novel called Brave New World. And so this was written even before us baby boomers were born, Mike, and certainly probably more obscure to the millennials and Gen Zs. But the book said there's some things that are going to be unanticipated coming up in this brave new world. And I think if you go back 3 years ago, and I think March of 2020, sort of the unofficial beginning of the impact of the pandemic in the Western world, uh, that became a brave new world where there became a new normal for sales, since we're talking to salespeople and sales managers on this broadcast, and being able to adapt to the fact that you couldn't go on premise anymore. Your prospects and customers couldn't really come into your facility, you couldn't go to theirs. And so this idea of selling virtually became a very hot topic and a differentiator between those who would grow and master the technology and those that sort of hid their heads in the sand and failed. And many of those folks went out of business. Certainly, a lot of salespeople experienced that with what we call the great resignation. They just wouldn't, couldn't, didn't adapt to that new normal. Now in 2023, as Mike indicated, the speed of new releases of artificial intelligence, as they could be applied to selling, is just about as equally stunning and compelling as the pandemic was 3 years ago. Again, the challenge then was what adaptations do we make to keep up or outpace our competition? And you know what? Those same questions are alive with artificial intelligence. What adaptations, what are the compelling reasons for us to adopt this technology? What's the consequences if we don't, if we sit pat and our competition adopts the technology? And the market share, our revenue models that will be affected by those decisions. So, Mike, these are heady topics. And as you've been showing me some examples of AI and ChatGPT in recent weeks, just example after example, jaw drops and go, wow, this is important for the sales industry, the sales profession to become familiar with. So, Mike, a great overview and a very timely topic for us to proceed with today.
Thanks, Ron. I really appreciate the fact, that you're here again and that you're providing commentary for us. It's really good to have a different perspective and somebody who's been doing this for such a long time for training in the sales world and is now seeing how this technology, this ChatGPT and artificial intelligence in general, will be affecting us. So let's move on to our next topic. The second major point, or the second point of our agenda, is where are we now? How are we being impacted by ChatGPT and AI in general in the spring of 2023? So historically, it's important to understand that bits and pieces of AI have been incorporated into various software solutions for salespeople to improve their efficiency, decision making, and overall sales performance in the past few years. So this isn't brand new, but I think the capabilities that are now available in tools like ChatGPT are going to explode the capabilities that are now available. So just a little bit of a history. CRM systems have had AI. Products such as Salesforce's Einstein, if you're familiar with that, was first introduced in September of 2016, so 7 years ago. And they've been gradually increasing that. Although it's important to recognize that they announced again a couple weeks ago on March 7th that they are now doing Einstein GPT. So they're going to take ChatGPT or a version of that they've built themselves to dramatically improve the capabilities of Salesforce for sales and service and other areas that they impact. You've all been exposed to or used chatbots. Some of those are using artificial intelligence, where you, especially in a support scenario, sometimes when you go to a website, you'll get a chatbot that comes on and takes information from you and then heads you in the right direction or sets you up for a follow-up. The capability to do sales intelligence and predictive analytics has been there before in the sales world. I don't know how many people are taking advantage of that, but in some cases, it's totally transparent. You don't even know you're doing it. Email automation, tools like MailChimp and many others are using AI algorithms to help people craft personalized emails and analyze metrics. So AI is not new in the sales world. It's just that that world is exploding, as indicated by the Salesforce announcement I just mentioned. Before we get to the demos, let's discuss what ChatGPT can do. ChatGPT is pretty talented, in some cases amazing, as Ron mentioned earlier, at least to me. It can provide answers to simple and complex questions. A simple question might be, what is today's date? Pretty basic. Or a complex question might be, what does a father say to a sick child? Bill Gates, in a recent interview, highlighted this, and he said he was blown away, literally, by the response to that query into ChatGPT. What does a father say to a sick child? It'll write fiction and nonfiction content, so it can write emails and proposals and documents. It'll write computer code. It's really good at writing computer code. Doesn't always do it perfectly, but it will dramatically impact the work of software programmers. So it'll be real interesting to see over the next couple of years how that profession changes. It does translation, translating from German to French or German to English or French to Chinese. It'll perform math calculations, although right now that's not its strength. It can do kind of basic stuff, but if you get into more advanced stuff, it's not really what it's really good at, but it does do it. And it will summarize text, and we'll provide a demo of that here in just a second. It will also analyze data. It's really good at analyzing data, so you can give it a table of data, and it will go in and it will tell you what the trends are, tell you what averages are, and those kinds of things, all automatically. So you don't really have to do any formulas or anything on the data. It just does it automatically. And it does all this as a dialogue between you and the program. So let's get into ChatGPT and see what it's capable of. Let me go into my ChatGPT here. Okay, so this is the user interface for ChatGPT. As you can see at the top, there are different models of ChatGPT. I have paid for an upgraded version that gives me access to the latest version, which is ChatGPT 4. But there are other language versions, which is ChatGPT 3.5, which does a very credible job, but can oftentimes be not quite as capable or sophisticated as 4. So we're going to start out with a simple question, and we're going to ask it, who is the Prime Minister of the UK? Now, you think that's a pretty straightforward question, but you'll notice that ChatGPT only has information borrowed from the web through September of 2021. So it doesn't know who the current Prime Minister of the UK is, which is Sushak, I can't remember, Ravi, I think, or something like that. But it's important to understand that if you're looking for sort of current information, the search engines are still much better at that. Now I'm going to ask it a different kind of a question, a little more sophisticated one. And this one kind of begins to show. And I'm going to go back to the ChatGPT model 3.5 because it's a little faster. And I'm going to ask it, in a table, list the first 10 presidents of the United States, the date they were born, their age when they became president, and the years they served in office. So when I ask that question, it starts and it creates literally a table. And this table shows you the name of the president, the birth date, their age at inauguration, and the years they were in office. And clearly you could go in and ask it for other information, like what are the dates, what were their inauguration dates, or whatever. But now you can take this information and you can just copy it and you can bring it into a presentation or a proposal or a letter or whatever else you're creating. So it's pretty impressive. And the cool thing is, I think, is that you can put it into a table just by asking it. Okay, now I'm going to create one that's a little more sales oriented. And I'm going to ask it to create, let's just say that I'm a salesperson and I sell stand-up desks, the kind that go up and down. And I want to write an email to a prospect who's looking at buying 100 or more desks for their company. What should I highlight in a brief email? So if I ask it, here's what it comes back with. It comes back with a subject line. It comes back with the name highlighted in brackets, and basically creates an email for you that will allow you to at least have a start. You might copy this directly. I wouldn't recommend it necessarily, but at least it gives you a start. Now, I may not like that, and I say it's a little long, so what I want to do is I want to make it a little shorter, and I want to add a note of humor to it. So it'll go back and say, okay, here's a shorter and slightly humorous version of the email. And it goes in and adds a little humor, whether you like the humor or not, but it attempts to do it in a more humorous and shorter way. Now I say, well, it's a little more sophisticated than I'd like. So what I want to do is I want to write it at the level of a fifth grader. If you do a study of this, it's written at about an 8th or 9th grade level. Now I'm going to ask it to do the same thing. And remember, it remembers that it wants to be shorter and humorous, and now at the level of 5th grader. So like a conversation, it remembers everything that I said before it. So here's the email. I wanted to tell you about our cool stand-up desk that you might like for your office. Standing up is good for your health. I mean, it uses very simple language that you would to help you not get sick as much. So a lot of times this conversation capability, or the ability to write at a certain grade or age level, can really improve your ability to communicate because it doesn't have all those big fancy words in it. Now I'm going to do something that's kind of interesting. If you're a salesperson, a lot of times I find the marketing department gives you great information. But as you can see in our LearnTrack brochure here, it's pretty dense, and if I want to send this out, the likelihood of the person reading it, at least completely, is pretty low. So I might want to find a way to summarize this in a way that might make it a little more useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the data from this brochure, and I'm going to put it into ChatGPT, and I'm going to ask it to summarize the spell. I'd be in a good place. Sorry about that. Summarize the data from this text. Okay, so that's all the text from the brochure, and now it's going to go ahead and hopefully, there we go. It's going to create a summary of all those words. I think there's some 300 words, and here's the summary. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to ask it, because it still might be a little bit dense for somebody to read. I'm going to ask it to add bullet points for all those points. So now it's creating and taking all the content in that brochure, and it's putting it into bullet points. So now this is something that you could take and copy into a proposal, or you could copy it into an email, or you could just use it for a discussion or presentation. So pretty cool capabilities. Now we're going to go on. In the last 2 weeks, fortunately, before this this presentation was done, several companies have announced products. And the first one I'm going to show you is a company that you're probably very familiar with called Microsoft. And Microsoft is introducing, because of their huge investment in in OpenAI, they're now looking to take that content, that technology, and build it into all their products, including Word, PowerPoint, Excel, their development tools, and others. So I'm going to show you a video from the product manager explaining exactly how this would.
But the real power of Copilot is in how it unleashes creativity at work. Imagine you're leading a team at a global manufacturing company, and you want to create a rock-solid customer proposal, and you don't have time for writer's block. Let's see how Copilot can use your customer notes in OneNote as well as another internal document. Copilot quickly creates a first draft. Now, you probably want this to look like your previous proposals. Copilot can give you a draft in the format you typically use. It inserts product images and pulls in relevant visuals from other files. You can even include a short summary at the top of the document. And Copilot can make suggestions to strengthen the proposal, like adding an FAQ, which it will generate for you.
To add a more detail over on the right-hand side, or make it shorter, or give more suggestions. So the response that you get initially is not limited to
But the real...
I'm sorry, it's not limited to the initial information that you get from the chat program. Now we're going to go to the follow-on. So in the second part of this presentation by Microsoft,
it's time to get ready for your customer pitch meeting. Now, everyone has had a moment when they wish they could turn their proposal into a customer-ready presentation without having to start from scratch. Well, guess what? Now you can. Copilot can turn your Word document into a PowerPoint presentation. Now you have a professional-looking presentation that you can hone and polish. This is truly amazing. Using just your words, Copilot translates Word into PowerPoint and PowerPoint into Word. Now, let's add a slide and give Copilot some quick instructions. There it goes, ready for you to review. Now, this slide is a little bit wordy. Let's ask Copilot to make it more visual. And check this out. Copilot can even animate the slide. It gives it a professional design treatment in a single click. But it doesn't stop there. Copilot can even generate speaker notes. I am serious. Speaker notes. It's not only a time saver, it's helping me be a better presenter and close this deal.
So the bottom line is that not only will ChatGPT help you do this, but it'll do it faster, better. I don't know if I could create presentations that with that high a quality. So it's really interesting to me and fascinating to me how the content capabilities of ChatGPT will be built into these tools. Now, Microsoft is a little bit on the leading edge, but Google has also announced a product called Bard, B-A-R-D, that they will be integrating into their productivity tools, slides and docs and sheets, etc. And I'm sure all the other competitors will also. Our next is so we've talked a lot about text, but it's important to understand that not only will AI affect text, but it'll also affect graphics. And so here's a Now, you may not be a graphic designer or be interested in those kinds of graphics, but the point is that those kinds of capabilities are actually available today in other products called like Midjourney is one of them. And those capabilities will be built into all these tools also. So as you're creating presentations or you're doing proposals or you're doing other things that require graphics, these kinds of capabilities will be available to you. So you basically just be able to describe it and it'll create it for you. It's just amazing. The last thing I want to show you is a demonstration by a third-party company. The quality is not the greatest, but it does show you how Salesforce is going to be integrating their artificial intelligence tools, which they call Einstein, into their product.
This is Einstein GPT for sales. Let's say I'm a sales rep at NTO, a company that sells outdoor gear. On my homepage, I see that the Outscape account has been transferred to me. I can open a sidebar and ask Einstein a few questions to learn more about the account. First, let's ask for a company overview, including recent news. And there you go. Einstein used a combination of public and CRM data. Einstein also understands the CRM context, and it displays a lightweight view of the account on the left side. It also generated a few actions for me. For example, I can update the account description with the overview that was generated. Einstein also picked up on the news about Outscape expanding to the US. It may know that this may be an opportunity, and it created an action to explore it. So here, Einstein generated a list of people leading the US expansion at Outscape, and I can see useful information about their role in the project. Einstein identified that one of them is already a contact, and I can automatically create contact records for the other ones. It looks like Maya Williams is leading the project, and I want to reach out to her. Let's ask Einstein to generate an intro email. Automatically, Einstein can generate this email that I can edit in the email composer. Notice that this email is personalized and it's relevant. Now let's ask Einstein to rewrite it using a less formal tone. And automatically, we have a less formal email that's generated. One last thing, let's ask Einstein to invite Maya to a private Slack channel where we can communicate in real time. Now we send it, and that Slack channel is automatically created.
So again, very impressive capabilities, and these are just demo systems. Most of these are available in kind of a limited beta form right now, but I think you'll see them being introduced in the next few months. Certainly by the fall, I think all of these capabilities will be available. Back to you, Ron. Let me know what you're thinking here as you sit there and watch those demos, which you've seen once before, but did you get anything from them the second time?
You know, even more so, Mike, you begin to contextualize how these things can be applied to the world of a salesperson. I recall our friend and mentor, Roy Chitwood, for many years said, just keeping up with what's emerging and going on, that's a full-time job. In the last 3 or 4 years, that requirement to learn quickly, assimilate, apply has done nothing but accelerate. In fact, I recall when the pandemic hit, Bill Gates, whose name was cited earlier, said that moving to a virtual platform for virtual sales, virtual training, e-learning, the pandemic was an accelerant on those trends that would have otherwise taken years, but they were inevitable. But now they become much more quickly to the market. And that's what we're seeing again here in 2023 with these artificial intelligence tools for sales and other industries. The advent probably was inevitable, but as we look at the application for those 3 tools, Mike, that you just showed us, you realize that for people that are in sales, especially for those of you that use track selling, for years, we've encouraged, before you meet with a prospect, use a 3x3 pre-search, which meant that you'd go out to their LinkedIn profile, find 3 topics of interest, maybe commonality that you could discuss, and have those ready to go into a call or a phone call. Now you look at what's available here in the last 10 or 15 minutes, and you realize just the incredible insights that can be mined through this new technology. And once again, we keep coming back to that thought. Either you as a salesperson or you as a sales manager can bring this to your team, or you'll soon be competing with other companies that have done so. So it makes so much more sense to get out in front of this, begin to integrate, bring in-house the technology. And I think this will be especially attractive as you look to grow your sales force. You get into competitive hiring situations, and you can tell your potential recruits, let me show you the suite of AI tools that our sales team is using and the results they've had here in 2022, 2023. This is the toolkit, the dashboard that we'd love you to join us with and proceed on with the hire. And just one final comment, Mike, as we go through or as you anticipate and think through the 7 steps of track selling, we talked about that pre-search that can be done. In step 2, qualification, these tools can generate a great list of open-ended fact-finding, open-ended feeling-finding qualification questions for a salesperson to use. Even those that are just being onboarded and are new to your industry, it accelerates their ability to get up to speed more quickly. Then on to step 3, an agreement on need. Well, ChatGPT or these other tools can take a look at your notes and format them into a format, as I understand it, based on our discussion last week. You're looking for need number 1, fulfill aspiration number 2, solve problem number 3. Is that correct? If yes, sure looking forward to our meeting next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And so there's a compelling agreement on need email or communication that these tools can help you present. And I'm sure, Mike, as we get deeper into this in the weeks and months ahead, it could match up or align what your prospects would be looking for in terms of what your product or your company offers, your product and service offers, and then say, of all the things that you could talk about, your company, your product and service, here would be the top 3 things about your company to show and tell, the top 3 features and benefits to show and tell, and in step 5, fill the need. And you just begin to realize the intelligence, the moxie, the experience that this can bring to bear. And Mike, as you showed us, it's almost instantaneous. You simply put in a very easy to understand query, and here comes compelling editorial along that line. So I think once again, over 100 years ago, Huxley's novel Brave New World, we're reliving it here in 2023. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, Ron, thanks very much. Those are great comments and great observations. I don't think we have a sense yet of how significant these developments will be. We're just starting to see them emerge sort of in a gigantic way. And we're going to be learning over the next few months and certainly over the next few years about how they will impact all of us, not only in sales, but also in virtually every aspect of our life. So thanks for the comments, Ron.
Mike, one more thing that I'd add.
Yes, sir.
Again, another comment from our friend and mentor, Roy Chitwood. He said, in an age of high tech, there will never be greater needs for high touch. And so it can be tempting to try to automate the entire humanity of selling. So there will be a need for that human touch, that human interaction, live voice to complement what these tools do. But so what these tools do is they give you structure, and then as you become more experienced or have others coach you on where those appropriate human touches would be. Okay, now you've got the right complements between the automation, the humanity of it to become even more effective.
Yep. Great observation. Appreciate it. All right, let's get back, excuse me, and begin to wrap up here. I want to talk about how these advancements are going to be impacting salespeople, because and sales processes, because they are going to have a significant impact on what we do and how we do it. So the first thing is the fact that there's going to be improved or increased omni-channel engagement. So what does that mean? What's omni-channel? Well, it means all of the touch points that you have with your prospect or your customer. So websites, social media, email, certainly, phone calls, chatbots, landing pages, all kinds of things. And those will all be integrated and combined together for a seamless customer experience. So an advance in the future is the ability to integrate private data into you or your company, from you or your company, into the data set for the LLM. Excuse me. So right now, ChatGPT just knows about the public world. So it only got data through September 2021 from anything that it could access in the public. All the stuff that's in your own database, your SharePoint, your Google Drive, or whatever, is not accessible today fortunately, to the large language model. But that will be coming, and you'll do it selectively and with the appropriate privacy and security controls. But that capability to integrate the data, as the Microsoft product manager mentioned, from emails or from your SharePoint or wherever, is going to make a huge difference, because it'll be able to personalize and to customize your communication specifically to that person or that organization. Another area that's going to be impacted is lead generation. By employing advanced language analysis and data mining, artificial intelligence will empower sales teams to generate higher quality leads with greater precision. It'll be able to, precision. It'll be able to filter out the ones that really don't have true interest in what you have to offer, and it will optimize the sales funnel and dramatically, I think, improve conversion rates. It will also accelerate the sales cycle. So AI has the ability to engage and qualify prospects in real time or near real time, and reduce the time spent on repetitive tasks, administrative things that no salesperson likes to do, allowing sales professionals to focus on those high value activities and closing deals faster. It'll also allow a greater personalized customer experience. So we talked about this a little bit more, taking the information that we have from our current systems, email being probably one of the big ones, and being able to reuse that for nurturing long-lasting relationships, customizing data and information specifically to a customer or a given contact, and hopefully improving loyalty. The other area that we didn't show today is data-driven decision-making. So one of the things that these tools are really good at is analyzing data. So you can put in fairly large quantities of data. It's limited today, but it's going to get better. And you can have it analyze a table of data that that tells you what the trends are and what the customer sentiment is, and other things of competitor intelligence potentially, resulting in better decisions and better strategic planning. Another area that we don't spend a lot of time talking about is upskilling the sales force. So one of the things that AI can do is make your sales force better, make you better as a sales, analyze your own activities and see where you can improve. Another area is emotion detection, and basically tuning into emotional cues that might be in any communication you have. Another area is global market expansion. These tools can easily translate between English and other languages, or language to language, and that will allow you as a salesperson to communicate with other people that might be part of an international sale. So, or you might be working internationally. So that's an amazing capability. And then just another aspect of the training is the capability for you to get coaching, real-time coaching from the system, from the ChatGPT or whatever AI system you're using, so that you can evaluate and improve your skills on a literally minute-by-minute basis. And the final area is what I'd call streamlined collaboration. So the ability for you to take data and information from sales and marketing and customer support and production and other areas of your company to basically summarize the information for you for a given customer or given problem, and then allow you to work together to solve a problem. So sales has a great opportunity to benefit from artificial intelligence or AI. But there are threats. And one of the big threats is job loss. So you hear a lot about this in the discussions on AI in general, of if it can do all these phenomenally capable things, what happens to copywriters or graphic designers or programmers who, or salespeople who are taking advantage of these capabilities and are so much more productive and so much more capable. So the impact that ChatGPT has will be multifaceted, and it'll transform the profession, just like other things have. I mean, when we got calculators, people wondered how we'd ever do math anymore because it'd be so easy to do it. But this will change it a lot. It may significantly impact jobs in sales and other places. But forecasters predict that you'll be able to do 10 times more or do your given tasks in 1/10 of the time. That's a little ways away yet. But how's this going to change the work you do and the way you do it? Repetitive tasks such as data entry, cold calling will be automated. There will be upskilling in strategic thinking. You'll be able to focus more on the relationship building and the consultative selling. You'll have to refigure out how to allocate time and make it appropriate for things that now you have time for. We talked about global market expansion, and I think that's going to be critically important with the multilingual capabilities of these programs. And sales support roles are going to change dramatically, or maybe even be eliminated. So a lot of the stuff that people are doing today will be done by the salesperson or will be done totally by the AI systems. So while ChatGPT may eliminate some sales roles, it will simultaneously create new opportunities. And of course, that's what the proponents are focusing on. Not sure exactly where it's all going to go, but that's an important aspect. There's also concerns about data privacy and security. So you're going to have to think about things like misinformation. In many cases, if ChatGPT doesn't know the answer, it'll just make it up, believe it or not. This is a term called hallucinating that refers to the AI model of generating incorrect or nonsensical information, which has a basis in data, but what it wasn't trained to do. So that's a major issue, and one that a lot of people are pointing out. It's important to understand that it's best practice to cross-check the answer you have with other authoritative sources, potentially, again, going back to a search engine. There are deceptive practices. You may be able to deceive customers if you want, eroding trust and violating ethical boundaries. There's privacy concerns. We talked about taking all that data, that private data, communications, and making it available. That may not always be appropriate. One of the huge areas is bias and discrimination. These tools are built by people, and they have biases and they have stereotypes, and a lot of times those things are built into the models that don't allow people to really understand exactly what perspective they're coming from. A risk of personalization is over-personalization and making it so personal that people get scared about the availability of their information and their own privacy. So accountability is going to be a very, very major issue. To address all these ethical issues that we talked about, organizations are going to have to establish guidelines and safeguards. The industry is going to have to do a lot to make sure that that's taken care of from their endpoint, and a lot of things are going to have to be discussed and described and documented to make AI safe. Okay, final point, just a couple minutes here. What's the future of AI? Well, first of all, the models are going to be massively improved. So ChatGPT was released 2 weeks ago Friday, and that was GPT-4. GPT-5 is already in the works and is being trained, and it's predicted to come out sometime this year. So these models, they're going to accelerate, and they're actually going to be able to train themselves to get better. So clearly, we're going to have bigger data sets, access to more information, more private information. Performance is going to improve. We talked about proprietary data and the need for that to be included in all of these media sources. So when you go to create that email or whatever, it's there. The use of ChatGPT as an application platform. So it's suspected that there will be thousands of applications built on tools like ChatGPT or the Microsoft model. Or the Google model. So OpenAI last Friday literally announced the capability to build plugins for their tool. So the future is bright, and I think, to be honest with you, a bit scary. So it's incumbent upon all of us to be aware of what AI currently is and where it's going to make sure that it's the tool that we want it to be. So I saw, let me just look here. A couple of people made comments, nothing to respond to, so that's good. We've got those covered. Thank you, Ron, for helping out with that. Final thoughts. I think there's a lot here, and we've taken an hour today, a little over an hour, to talk about that. Thank you so much for attending this session. We hope you enjoyed it and learned from it. The video recording will be available on the Track Selling pages of YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, probably where you looked at. It'll also be available later this week on our website. So if you have any questions or comments, please contact us. The easiest way is info@tracksellinginstitute.com. Our next live stream will be on Monday, April 24th at 2 p.m. We do it Mondays, fourth Monday of the month at 2 o'clock. We welcome your suggestions. We haven't finalized the topic yet, and we look forward to seeing you then. Ron, any final comments? Oh, Ron's gone. Ron dropped off. Sorry. Thank you very much again. This is Mike Thomas signing off. Thank you, and have a great day.